Have you ever walked into a room and immediately felt small, as if everyone else had a secret manual to life that you were never given? A sinking feeling that you're just one wrong move away from being exposed as a fraud. What if you could flip that script entirely? Not by changing who you are, but by changing who you appear to be. What if the most powerful version of yourself is just a performance away? This isn't about empty affirmations or naive positive thinking. This is about a ruthless psychological strategy, a philosophy of power that has been whispered about for centuries. It's about embodying an idea so completely that the world has no choice but to accept it as truth and to understand it. We turn to one of the most controversial minds in history, a man whose name is synonymous with cunning and control, Niccolo Machiavelli. In the early 1500s, from a cramped study in exile, Machiavelli wrote a book meant as a guide for a prince, but it became a manual for anyone who seeks influence. He observed the most powerful figures of his time, and he noticed something they all shared: a masterful use of perception. He saw that in the game of power, appearance is often more important than reality, because reality is what people believe it to be. He argued that a leader must not only be powerful, but must be seen as powerful. He must not only be competent, but must perform competence with such conviction that doubt becomes impossible. He famously wrote that it is better to be feared than loved, if you cannot be both. But this is often misunderstood. It's not about cruelty for its own sake. It's about the perception of strength, the absolute refusal to be seen as weak, or hesitant, or apologetic, because once you are perceived that way, that becomes your reality in the eyes of others. Your actual strength becomes irrelevant. Machiavelli is telling us to become the author of our own perception, to write the story of who we are, before someone else writes it for us. This is where psychology catches up to philosophy, with a concept called self-perception theory. It suggests that we don't just act based on how we feel, we also infer how we feel based on how we act. It's a two-way street. Your actions influence your inner world just as much as your inner world influences your actions. So, if you act with confidence, even if you're trembling on the inside, your mind starts to look for reasons to explain that behavior. It starts to believe, maybe I am confident. Maybe I do belong here. Maybe I am that person. Think about the last time you had to do something terrifying. A job interview, a first date, a big presentation. Do you remember the script running through your head? It was probably all about you. What will they think of me? Am I good enough? What if I mess up? This is the mindset of someone seeking validation. Someone who sees the people in the room as judges. This is where you give your power away before you've even said a word. Now, imagine a different script. You walk into that same room, but your internal monologue is not about seeking approval. It's about granting it. You are not there to be judged by them. They are there to be witnessed by you. You are the prize. You are the one who holds the value. This shift is seismic. It changes your posture. It changes the tone of your voice. It changes the calm, assessing look in your eye. You are no longer a petitioner begging for a place at the table. You are the guest of honor deciding if the table is worthy of you. This isn't about arrogance. Arrogance is a performance for others, a loud and clumsy attempt to convince them. What we're talking about is a quiet, unshakable certainty for yourself. It's the difference between a small dog that barks loudly to seem big and a lion that remains silent because it knows what it is. The lion doesn't need to announce its presence. Its energy does that for it. This is the performance, not of arrogance, but of essence. Consider a simple real-life example. Two people walk into a crowded coffee shop. One walks in looking at the floor, shoulders slightly hunched, hoping to find a seat without bothering anyone. The other walks in, back straight, head up, with a calm demeanor that assumes space is available for them. Who do you think commands more immediate, unspoken respect? Who do you think people subtly make way for? The person who acts like they don't deserve space, or the person who acts as if it is already theirs? This principle applies everywhere. In business negotiations, the person who acts as if their time is the most valuable commodity in the room often finds that others begin to treat it that way. In social settings, the person who acts as if their company is a gift often finds that others are eager to receive it. You are setting the price tag on your own worth, and people will pay exactly what you ask, whether that price is high or low. So the next time you feel that familiar pang of insecurity, that whisper of imposter syndrome, ask yourself this: not what do I truly deserve, but what would the most powerful version of me do in this very moment? How would they stand? How would they speak? What would they believe? And then, just for a moment, act as if you are that person, because the most fascinating paradox of all is this: if you act as if you are the best long enough, and watch how the world shifts to accommodate the character you have chosen to play. Because this is not merely an act of deception, it is an act of creation. You are not lying about who you are. You are building a bridge to the person you intend to become, and the first step across that bridge is taken by your own 2 feet, performing a truth that has not yet materialized. This is where Machiavelli's ruthlessness meets modern neuroscience. It's not just a philosophical idea, it's a biological command. Your brain is constantly rewiring itself based on your behavior, a process known as neuroplasticity. Every single thought, every single action, carves a tiny neural pathway. The more you travel that path, the stronger it becomes, until what was once a difficult detour becomes your brain's default highway. So when you choose to act as if, you are not just fooling other people, you are fundamentally reprogramming your own mind. You are sending a command to the deepest parts of your subconscious, a command that says, "This is who we are now. This is how we operate." You are quite literally practicing a new version of yourself, and practice does not make perfect. Practice makes permanent. It creates a new permanent reality within your own skull. Think of the most confident person you know, the one who seems to own every room they walk into. Do you think they were born that way? Or do you think they, at some point, consciously or not, made a series of choices? They decided how they would carry themselves. They decided how they would speak. They decided that their opinion held weight, and they acted upon that decision until it was no longer a decision at all. It was simply their nature. They built the pathway until it became the only road they knew how to travel. This is the ruthless part. It requires a conscious murder of the old self, a deliberate abandonment of the comfortable, familiar narratives of inadequacy. You must starve the doubts that you have been feeding for a lifetime, and instead, feed the actions of the person you know you can be, even when it feels absurd, especially when it feels absurd. Because that feeling of absurdity is simply the friction of a new identity trying to break through the shell of the old one. Imagine a young actor preparing for the role of a king. He doesn't feel like a king. He feels like a student from a small town, but he puts on the costume. He practices the posture. He lowers his voice and speaks with measured authority. He studies the mannerisms of power, and for weeks, he lives as if he is royalty. And then something remarkable happens. The costume begins to feel less like a disguise. The posture becomes more natural. The voice becomes his own. By the time he steps on stage, the transformation is complete. He is not acting like a king. He is the king for the duration of the play. The illusion is reality. Your life is not so different. You are given a role the moment you are born, a role written by your parents, your friends, your society, a role you have been performing for years. But what if you decided to fire the director, tear up the old script, and audition for a new part, a bigger part, the lead role in your own life, the role of the person you truly wish to be? This is the ultimate application of power, the power of self-authorship. Machiavelli understood that for a prince, perception is the bedrock of reality. For you, the perception you hold of yourself is the bedrock of your reality. So what reality are you building? Is it a reality of hesitation, of seeking permission, of waiting for an invitation that may never come? Or is it a reality of sovereignty, where you are the one who issues the invitations, where you are the final authority on your own worth?